Hi guys, Adrian from Click BMX. Today I'm going to be showing you how to set the slack in a Federal V3 hub. You can use this tutorial to show you how to kind of take apart the hub, rebuild it if you need to, fit new bearings at the same time, generally just give it a clean round. I'm going to be looking at the male axle version. It's a fairly similar process to the female axle, and mine's a left-hand drive version, which more or less the same as the right-hand drive version. Right, so firstly you're going to need to get your hub. Mine's brand new, straight out the box. In there you get your slack washers, you also get some instructions and your hub itself, brand new, like I said, never used. To take it apart you're going to need obviously a hammer. That's to knock the bearings out and also to knock them back in. You're going to need 23mm spanner. I'm using an adjustable. I don't usually like using these, but it's all I've got, so we're going to have to make do. And also 6mm Allen key. Mine's on a breaker bar because I can get a nice amount of leverage if stuff's tight. This is a new hub, so the cone nuts will just come straight off, but you can use the little flip Allen keys, the pocket ones that you can take with you. So you can start off 6mm Allen key in the axle, in there, 23mm, obviously in my case an adjustable, onto the cone nut on the drive side. We're starting off on the drive side, easiest way to do it. So just come off. This one was fairly loose, well not loose, just nipped up with it being a new hub. If you've got an older hub they can be a bit tighter. If it's already built to a wheel it'll make it a little bit easier as well, because you'll have just something to hold on to grip the wheel. So unscrew that nut, and also a washer that goes on a particular way around, so it'd be worth just noting which way it goes on and comes off. But it's kind of got a taper on it, and what that means is kind of a cone shape to it. It's the narrower part that goes inwards and points in towards the driver, so just bear that in mind. Put those in the box, the safe bits box. And now onto the non-drive side. Again, spanner onto the nut, 6mm Allen key, and that should, there we go, that's off. Unscrew that nut, the end, chuck that in your spares box along with this part that just slides off the non-drive side. It's just a bearing cover, a cone, an important part, so keep those safe. And now you've got your driver. This pulls up and you twist it on the left hand side, left hand drive hub, you need to be turning it clockwise and pulling out. The right hand drive one, you need to be turning it anti-clockwise and pulling it out, and that'll just come out of there like that. Put that in your spares box. Get your hammer, hub, clamp it in a vise or something, or obviously just make sure you've got some cardboard, some rag around it so you don't damage it. I'm using a workbench, so put it on there. Knock the end of the axle, obviously put a rag over the end or put a nut on the end so you don't damage your thread, and that will come out. Hub shells there, obviously just put that in the spare bits box, and there you go. Obviously bearing comes off, and I'm just going to get my slack washers. You'll notice there's already one on there. I'm going to use two. I always like to run 1/3 of a driver rotation, so I'm going to put 2 of these slack washers on. To start with, it had half a driver rotation turn, so put them on there. It goes on that side, on the inside of the bearing. Just slide that back on, and then what you'll need is to get your hub shell. This one's already pre-greased up. Important to keep the bearing surface greased up as you hammer it back in, because basically it's a metal on metal contact, and obviously hammering it in dry is going to be quite difficult because there's going to be a lot of friction between the bearing and the shell. So make sure they're greased. There. Get a socket to hammer the bearing back in. Now when you're doing this, you do need to be careful. Basically the bearing's got a delicate kind of seal on the outside, and if you hit that in, it'll damage it, it'll let grit into the bearing, as well it'll rub on the actual bearings itself and it'll just ruin it. So obviously get a socket and hit it on the outside edge of the bearing, because that's what you're actually hitting in. So axle in, all in the right way. I'm going to put this into my clamp, into my workmate, and then just start hammering it. Right, and you'll know that's hammered in all the way when you can get this non-drive side cone, slip that in, and it sits flush up against the hub shell, the outer part, without protruding. So that's spot on, that's all on. If that's the case, get this cone locking nut, screw that onto the axle, then soon you'll just need to get your 6mm Allen key. Which is there, put that in the end of the axle. Get your big spanner, 23mm, and then just obviously tighten that cone nut up. And eventually, there we go, it's tight. Get your driver, this time screw it anti-clockwise, should go on. Make sure it's in all the way, obviously there's no gaps up between that and the bearing. Get your nut that I told you about, goes on only one way, narrower part of it in towards the driver. Get your nut, 23mm, same as the other side, reverse order of obviously taking it apart, screw that on. .23mm spanner, .6mm Allen key in the end of the axle, tighten it up, and there we go, that's all back together. As you can see, drive that, engages, disengages fine. I've got the third of a driver slack, so I'm happy with that. If you are a new coaster rider, I'd say leave it standard just to get used to being able to go backwards, move your feet around a little bit more. It just gives you a little bit of leeway as you're getting used to it. So there you go, that's how to put the slack washers into a Federal V3 hub. Right, that's how to rebuild a Federal V3, set the slack in it, clean it out. I hope that's given you a good idea of how to do it on your own, or if you're planning on doing it to a Federal Freecoaster hub. Make sure to check clickbmx.wordpress.com, like us on Facebook, and also follow us on Twitter and Instagram.